Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada ki, Gita Sachisuta ki, Bhagavatam ki, Shri Radha Parisisvara ki, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Haryam Sankirtan ki, Hare Krishna ki, Prabhupada ki, Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Shri Radha Krishna Srimad Bhakti Swami Namani Namaste. Chanting Hare Krishna will soothe our longing hearts. Hare Krishna. These also are good for soothing. They soothe your throat. They don't soothe your heart, but at least they soothe your throat. Perfect. My God. Makes me think I've got a really big head. My ego is big, but my head's not so big. Hope that helps soothe the heart. What do I do is like some blue tap or something. Actually, I read about Janananda, but this is a really wonderful garment. It's actually nice. Oh. Yeah. Hare Krishna. No, I'm not very good at that. I'm very attached. As some of you may know, we have one very sweet and humble disciple in Delhi. His name is Padarenu. And some of you are aware, you met him, I think. He's again in the IC, he's very critical again. High fever and under constant surveillance. So, you know, obviously many of you don't know and don't have a relationship, but still, wonderful devotee, and the devotees there are doing everything they can in Delhi. So, some prayers and good wishes for his health and welfare, protecting him, his Krishna conscious protection would be appreciated, and I'm sure it will go a long way. The next few days, according to the astrology, are very critical, and should be, if he passes over the next 3 days or so, there's a good chance he'll recover. He's been in hospital in 3 weeks now. Brain tumor, surgery, and so on, very complicated. So thank you for say a sweet prayer. I don't know if Rasa Prayana Prabhu, maybe you can show them a picture of him later on. Sure. I have a picture somewhere, but I don't know where. So we're reading today from Chaitanya Charitamrita. I don't know where we're reading. Where are we reading from?
Adi-Lila 10.116.
116.
16.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Jaya Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Text 116 of the Adi-Lila, chapter 10. Associates of the Lord are being described. Abhiram, Sakya, Premarashi, Sholas. Pardon? We're on the right verse?
Yeah.
Shola Sangera, Kashta, Tuliye, Adi-Lila, Vangshi, Ramdas Abhiram, Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera, Kashta Tuliye, Adi-Lila Vangshi, Ramadas Abhiram, Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera, Kashta Tuliye, Adi-Lila Vangshi, Ramadas Abhiram, Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera, Kashta Tuliye, Adi-Lila Vangshi,
Ramadas Abhiram Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera Kashta Tuliye Adi-Lila Vangshi,
Ramadas Abhiram Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera Kashta Tuliye Adi-Lila Vangshi, Ramdas Abhiram Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera Kashta Tuliye Adi-Lila Vangshi,
Ramadas Abhiram Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera Kashta Tuliye Adi-Lila Vangshi, Ramadas Abhiram Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera Kashta Tuliye Adi-Lila Vangshi,
It is.
Ramadas Abhiram Sakya Premarashi, Shola Sangera Kashta Tuliye Adi-Lila Vangshi,
Ramdas Abhiram. Of the name Ramadas Abhiram. Sakya Prema. Friendship. Rashi. Great volume. Shola Sangera. Of 16 knots. Kashta. Wood. Tuli. Lifting. Yea. One who. Karila. Made. Vangshi. Flute. Translation and half a line purport. Ramdas Abhiram was fully absorbed in the mellow of friendship. He made a flute of a bamboo stick with 16 knots. Purport. Abhiram was an inhabitant of Kanakula Krishna Nagar.
Oh my God.
Now you can read
Devotee.
Now you can read 117, 18 and 19. 19 has a purpose.
Is it? Well, in the meantime, ISKCON Paris, Radha Parisisvara Mandir. In the meantime, someone can just look up, my memory is rough and vague, but look up Ramdas, Abhi Ramdas. I mean, he's quite a well-known member of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan Party. You look him up on the internet or the database, wherever. You can find some biography of, I've got a biography, I think, upstairs. But can't remember. Next verse. Prabhu Rajaya Nityananda Gode Chadila Tanva Sangi Kina Jana Prabhu Gyaya Aila. By the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 3 devotees accompanied Lord Nityananda Prabhu when he returned to Bengal to preach. You can chant at the same time if you want. Ramadasa Madhava Hara Vasudeva Gosha Prabhu Sange Radhe Govinda Vaya Santosha. These 3 were Ramadas, Madhava and Vasudeva Ghosh. Govinda Ghosh, however, remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri and thus felt great satisfaction. Bhagavatacharya Chiranjiva Sri Raghunandana Madhavacharya Kamalakanta Sri Yadunandana. Bhagavatacharya Chiranjiva Sri Raghunandana Madhavacharya Kamalakanta and Sri Yadunandana were all among the branches of the Chaitanya tree. Purport. Sri Madhavacharya was the husband of Lord Nityananda's daughter, Ganga Devi. He took initiation from Purushottam, a branch of Nityananda Prabhu. It is said that when Nityananda Prabhu's daughter married Madhavacharya, the Lord gave him the village named Panjinagara as a dowry. His temple is situated near the Jirat railway station on the Eastern Railway. According to Gaur Ganadesh Deepika, Sri Madhavacharya was formerly the gopi named Madhavi. Kamalakanta belonged to the branch of Sri Advaita. His full name was Kamalakanta Vishwasa. There's no other explanation there of these great devotees. We'll go on. And even Kamalakanta Vishwas, I've heard, I can't remember again, various interactions with him. Next verse. Mahakripa Patra Pabura Jagaya Madai Patit Pavana Namera Sakshi Duhimai. Maybe somewhat more known characters here. Jagaya Madai, the 89th and 90th branches of the tree, were the greatest recipients of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. These 2 brothers were the witnesses who proved that Lord Chaitanya was rightly named Patita Pavana, the deliverer of the fallen souls. Report. In the Gaur Ganadesh Dipika, it is said that the 2 brothers, Jagai and Madai, were formerly the doorkeepers named Jai and Vijay, who later became Hiranyakashipu, or Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Jagai and Madai were born in respectable families, but they adopted the profession of thieves and rogues, thus become implicated in all kinds of undesirable activities, especially woman hunting, intoxication and gambling. Later, by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, they were initiated, and they got the chance to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. As a result of chanting, both brothers later became exalted devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The descendants of Madai still exist, and they are respectable brahmanas. The tombs of these two brothers, Jagai and Madai, are in a place known as Goshahata, or Madaitala Gram, which is situated about 1 mile south of Katwa. It is said that Sri Gopicharan Das Babaji established a temple of Nitai Gaur at this place about 200 years ago. So there, of course, is. Did you find anything, Abhiram, Ramdas Abhiram? Did you have a look? Very special devotee. Yes.
He was a Sridham.
This is all different, is it?
Yes, from different sources. It's compiled together.
Same person, Abhiram Thakur Ramdas, same person.
So Abhiram Thakur is also known as Abhiram Gopal Ramdas.
Abhiram Thakur, also known as Abhiram Gopal or Ramdas, was a prominent associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. In the 16th century, in Krishna Lila, he is identified as Sridhama, one of the 12 principal carrier boys of Raj, who accompanied Krishna and Balaram in their pastimes. Abhiram Thakur was renowned for his deep devotion and spiritual potency. He carried a whip. It's not mentioned here. Definitely the same person, huh?
Looks like.
Anyway, it's nice to hear. Renowned for his deep devotion and spiritual potency, he carried a whip named Jai Mangala, and it is said that anyone he touched with it would be infused with Krishna Prema, divine love of Krishna. He was also known for his fearless preaching. Upon seeing him, atheists and blasphemers would flee in terror. His residence or Shripat was located at Kanakul Krishna Nagar, where he worshipped the deity of Sri Gopinathji. According to tradition, the deity appeared to him in a dream and instructed him to excavate and worship it. This site became known as Ramkund and it remains a place of pilgrimage. Abhiram Thakur's wife was Sri Malini Devi. He continued his devotional service and preaching after the disappearance of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, often in the company of Virabhadra Gosai, the son of Nityananda Prabhu. His disappearance day is observed on the 7th day of the dark moon in the month of Chaitra, and is commemorated with festivals attended by many devotees. Hare Krishna. So, of course, there are many pastimes of Ramdas Abhiram in relation to his devotee with his Jai Mangala, his whip, and people were, as it says here, were very afraid of his whip. He would whip people. And this was his great mercy, a form of preaching. He whipped them. And we're not recommended we try to employ this process of preaching Krishna consciousness. You carry whips and whip people on the street. So probably not going to be very effective in terms of awakening love of Godhead anyway. And today also we're hearing about Jagai and Madai. And they're very famous characters. Perhaps one of the most famous pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip was the deliverance of Jagai and Madai, particularly Nityananda's role. Haridas Thakur and Nityananda were sent to preach together, and they, it wasn't this, Haridas Thakur was just chanting japa all day long. Inconceivable, these we can't measure the way that these pure devotees achieve what they do. We even see this inconceivability in Srila Prabhupada's service. You could say how he did so many things, and basically, I mean, when they say the same time within a short time frame, a day or so, how Prabhupada was able to do so much service, translating, commenting letters, lectures, darshans, and so on, within a day, managerial responsibility. So many things going on, not possible for an ordinary condition to solve. the eternal associates of the Lord are not, they may appear from our perspective to be controlled by time, but in another dynamic, another dimension, another plane, they're on a different level of consciousness, and it's inconceivable what can be done. So similarly, like the voice Haridas Nityananda is none other than Lord Balaram, the Supreme Lord himself, expansive form. But how they do, Haridas Thakur chanting 190 plus rounds daily, plus preaching, plus conversing with other devotees, is many things going on at once. It appears. Anyway, it's inconceivable to material calculations. This is possible. Try to calculate. Well, maybe he was chanting 5-minute rounds. We do sort of calculations like this. It's kind of irrelevant. It's that they're completely, fully engaged in the Lord's will, whatever the Lord wants. So, they were, Jaga and Madhya, of course, were, as mentioned here in the purport, they appeared also in Chaitanya Lila. The Lord's eternal associates, they're not ordinary jivas like we are, and Tatastha jivas. They're from another expansion of Lord Balaram in terms of their eternal associates, the Parivars, or the eternal associates of the Lord, and they expand. They expand. We hear the pastime of the cursing of Jagai and Mad, of Jai and Vijay by the Kumaras, and so on, as the methodology of their entering into the material universe is for the Lord's plan. All part of the Lord's will, everything was arranged by the Lord for their entry into the material world. It was his plan. It wasn't their doing in one sense. It was the will of the Lord which caused all these events to take place. In the commentary on the 7th canto, for instance, it's described quite clearly that it's not the Jaya and Vijaya exactly became Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. They expanded as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, is the actual understanding. And similarly as Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And they expand whenever the Lord requires this. They expand their unusual expansion of the Lord's eternal associates. They're expanding as demons, basically, or demoniac character. And for the Lord's preferred purposes. The same thing here, for the sake of his preaching. They have a certain type of, you could say, character, a certain type of nature. And it seems to be that they are expert in the Lord's pastimes, to take these various roles. So when the Lord appears in this merciful form, Patit Pavan, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, they also appear to assist him in his purposes of preaching Krishna consciousness and awakening pure love of God in the ordinary jivas, the jivas. And they particularly had a role of showing this. Each one of their various expansions, these devotees, they expand with the Lord. They're almost like part of the Lord's limbs in one sense. When he expands, they expand if necessary to fulfill the various purposes of the Lord's expansions, incarnations within the material world. And they expanded in these roles of Jagaya Madai, participating in the Lord's pastimes of Gaur Lila. Gaur Lila and Krishna Lila go on simultaneously, not one or the other. And they may manifest in this world, apparently a separation of time between them. Maybe the pastimes appear somewhat different in their nature. But it's the Lord's pastimes nonetheless. They're eternally existing in the spiritual realm. Navadvip Dham is an eternal abode in the spiritual realm. It's not just a place or a realm within this material manifested world, it is also eternally existing in the upper cup or in the spiritual realm. And these pastimes are also in not necessarily the same way, but the pastime is going on almost like a dramatic pastime going on for fun, for accelerating the intensity of the loving affection which is taking place there. In this material world they appear and they disappear also. But they appear and they appear to be, real demons. Just like in a drama you see sometimes the person appears to be like a real demon, but he's playing a part according to the director of the drama. The director of the drama ultimately is Krishna. For the conditioned souls, we would say Maya is the director in a sense, because they're separated by consciousness from the will of Krishna. They're coming to the prison house, the shackles of Durga Devi, and they're basically controlled her in this material world. The spiritual realm are controlled by the will of the Lord. So Jaga and Mada are actually controlled by the will of the Lord, although they appear to be independent and even antagonistic to the will of the Lord, especially toward Lord Nityananda. Mada especially was very aggressive to Lord Nityananda. And it's a story which, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but many of you are fully familiar with it, as much as we can be at this stage. How merciful, one of the main aspects of Lord Chaitanya's, let's say, appearance in this world, because he's reciprocating loving exchanges with his devotees, that's the internal aspect, and also to experience the loving mood of Srimati Radharani and her expansion. But on the other side, when it comes to interaction with the material world, his role is Patita Pavana. On both sides, you could say, but specifically in the material world, his role is Patita Pavana. He's the deliverer of the fallen souls. And Jagai and Madai were considered more or less the most fallen souls in Navadvip. At least they were, somehow or another, they were getting away with it. Just knows how, but they were getting away with it. All kinds of crimes and sinful activities were being performed by them. Pretty much everyone in Navadvip was afraid of them. They were real thugs. Although born in good Brahmin families, right from birth, they did, just like King Vena or something. His father was a very good devotee. His mother was actually born in an unfortunate family, but that's another thing. But Vena grew up right from word one. He was really quite demoniac. In many ways, Duryodhana was also in that category from birth. Shishupal, these characters, they're endowed. It is not just by their association. Interesting point, actually, that many people ascertain that their demoniac tendency or their, whatever, their corruptive tendencies are a result of their childhood. That's the secondary cause, you could say. It appears for those who are conditioned that, like a child, where do the apples come from? Oh, they come from the shop. Well, it's not completely incorrect, but it's not the actual real origin of the apples. Even if, say, they come from a tree, is definitely a little bit more understanding, an apple tree. That also can go further back in causal reasons. But it's a little like that we ascertain that, oh, my problems are because of what happened to me in my childhood. Well, then if we have any Krishna conscious understanding, we wonder, then why was one exposed to that in one's childhood in the first place? Then you come back to the complete chance theory, when basically it's a totally atheistic perception of reality. Godless understanding, more or less, you could say, which is the common understanding of most people, even religionists. In many cases, have nothing beyond that. Somehow or another, whatever, somehow or another it happened. And it's unfortunate, but that's how it is. But it's not. There's a reason why one's born in a certain family which has certain tendencies. It's all related to desire and karma. We're born in that situation due to our previous karma. And also our desire. We have a certain desire to exploit Krishna's energy, which in other words, we have a certain type of animosity towards Krishna, and it comes out in various ways, which we describe as, character traits and what have you, be they good or bad by relative terminology. But a person is born in a particular family and born in a particular, exposed to various activities and behaviors of others, which we say formulate the child's character, but it's nothing but a continuation of their karma from a previous lifetime. And they're born in that situation to bring out their various tendencies and desires from the previous life. It's not by chance. The modern society doesn't really have much understanding of that. But that's the difference between these devotees are not, it's not karma, like Madai were, the way they were. This is the Lord's will acting here. They were born in very good Brahmin families, but they weren't really. And we see the opposite too. Prahlad Maharaj was born in Jagai Madai, the same thing, Hiranyakashipu, in the family of Hiranyakashipu, but he was a great devotee of the Lord. So this sometimes happens like that. For various reasons, the Lord's plan. It's not an ordinary situation, it's the Lord's directive. This is the nature of all the pure devotees of the Lord. They act exactly according to the Lord's will. So if he wants them to play demoniac roles, they'll do it. Whatever pleases the Lord. They're not demoniac, but they'll play the role. Arjuna was not an illusion conditioned soul, but he played the role of one so that Krishna could petit pavan for the rest of the conditioned souls, and this would get the opportunity to hear the message of Bhagavad Gita. They take these positions. Even Duryodhana is taking a position to enact the Lord's will. Kali, everything. Also taking a position. He has a role to play. They all are, in one sense, serving the Lord's will. Prison warders, they're working for the government. They're not working independently. They're fulfilling the government's need, or government's arrangements. So even an executioner, they don't generally do that nowadays, but an executioner is acting under the government's law, under their will. Not a very nice job, but he's doing it as a service to the government, in one sense. Living entities have a certain character which fits that particular role, and different associates of the Lord have their particular characters. You see them coming in a certain way when the Lord expands, if he wishes those devotees to expand with him. They expand, and they often have a similar characteristic which they have in Goloka or Vaikuntha in this case, in their Vaikuntha position. And they may also, in Vaikuntha, the eternal associates of Goloka or Vrindavan may also expand into various forms in Vaikuntha. Not everyone there is a jiva who's worshipping the Lord in reverence. Many of them are eternal associates of the Lord, and when the Lord expands from his original Krishna form, they expand too, with similar kind of role as they have in the previous, the other form of the Lord, the previous form, or the form from which the Lord expands. And the same when they come into this material world, sometimes they expand as demigods, sometimes as demons, and so on. And they perform various services for the Lord when the Lord wants. So Jagai and Madai are in that category too. And it's described that it's not that Jagai and Madai weren't there anymore, they simply expanded, and so it appears from our perspective, from the perspective of, let's say, those in the conditioned world, that they they kind of fell down from Vaikuntha, but they didn't, mistakenly, the Prabhupada said. They didn't exactly fall down. They expanded in this form, different form, the particular desire, will fulfill the desire of the Lord. So Jagai and Madai are typical, playing the role to show how merciful the Lord is, how anyone can be delivered. By receiving the holy name, they became great devotees, and how they received it is there's many ways and many examples of receiving the Lord's mercy in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, fallen souls or conditioned souls, but oftentimes it's pure devotees of the Lord showing how the conditioned soul can be delivered, whether it's Haridas Thakur or he wasn't directly, he was, but that was on another plane. But especially Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis and many others, how they were delivered by the Lord, or how they claimed they state that they were eternal associates of the Lord playing roles. And then by the grace of their, you could say, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivering them from various situations. Raghunath Das Goswami is a very specific example. Here we tried very much in his case to join Lord Chaitanya, but he was not able to do so until he got the mercy of Lord Nityananda. The Lord Nityananda is, basically speaking, is the Guru, he's the Adi Guru, and he represents all the principle of Guru Tattva, Lord Nityananda's source, and he, without going through him, one cannot get Lord Chaitanya. Without going through Guru, one cannot get Krishna. This is the general understanding. And in Yoga and Madhya, of course, he specifically played this part of delivering them. Lord Chaitanya was not willing to deliver them. Nityananda, without his mercy, Lord Chaitanya would not give them, especially Madhya, would not give them his mercy in a sense. Unless Nityananda was willing to give his mercy to them, which he did, of course. So again, another example of how important it is to not think we can go directly to Krishna. One must go through Guru. One must go through devotee. There's no way that we can jump straight to Krishna. People think they can, but Krishna is independent. He's not obligated. It's not that, by doing so many so-called services, therefore Krishna is obligated and has to reciprocate. He can do as he likes. He's looking for the general, humility. In the spiritual world, the primary, practically speaking, at least from the individual's point of view, the primary characteristic is one of dainya, which means unlimited humility. It's not just a display, it is a state of consciousness. And what is that? Humility, that everything is for the pleasure of Krishna. You could say more on and on, but basic foundational mood of every devotee, they only exist for the pleasure of Krishna. Intense humility, and this can be awoken in the living entity by associating with the eternal associates of the Lord, those who are in that state of consciousness. It is by association, of course, that we develop our various, even Hiranyakashipu said that association acts like a crystal. Whatever we put before the crystal is reflected. So, when one gets the opportunity to associate with the pure devotee of the Lord, of course, we can say, when the sun rays reflect off of certain objects, the reflection appears differently. If it's a very dull object, there may be next to no reflection. It's very limited, very small, something but very small, you can hardly see. When it's a very, reflective object, it's a mirror or something, then there's a great reflection there. So the living entities, depending on their consciousness, also may respond or reciprocate somewhat differently to association. But there's always a benefit, no matter how distant it may be or limited it may be. that their spiritual path is beginning when they get the association of a pure devotee of the Lord. So Lord Nityananda is the source of opportunity, mercy, preacher, even Radharani without the green tick from Lord Nityananda does not give entry in there. Ultimately, without the Guru's mercy, no one can enter into the spiritual world. So it works. And Jagai and Madai are the typical recipients of that mercy. Probably the most profound in Krishna Lila, at least the most known, probably. And you can see how devotees preach. Lord Nityananda, even then, 500 or so years ago, people were antagonistic towards them. People were, even before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the house of Srivas Thakur and others, they were performing kirtan, but many of the local residents were very antagonistic or aggressive towards them. They wanted to stop it. The nature of Kali Yuga, nature of those who are demoniac, they want to stop the Sankirtan. Their consciousness is so godless, even though they may call themselves God-fearing or something. But when the Lord comes along, they want to get rid of him. Interesting, seeming contradiction. But they hate the holy name. They hate the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Can't stand it. Unbearable. Crazy. That's how it is. Of course, our chanting may not be as pure as it could be, that's for sure. And we're should be, trying to cultivate pure chanting. But nonetheless, one's representing a pure devotee of the Lord, acting on their behalf. Policeman may not be a perfect personality, but he's acting on behalf of the government. People have to respect that. Maybe as a kid he was doing this and that, but now he's acting as a representative of the government. You have to respect it. So whatever it is, but someone who's trying to preach Krishna consciousness is acting as a representative of the pure devotee of the Lord. So any offense to them is an offense to the pure devotee of the Lord. The devotees are very merciful, like Lord Nityananda was very merciful. And he didn't take it like that. He took it as an opportunity to be even more merciful. Haridas Thakur the same. They're all the same. They're all like that. Well, they may appear to be angry externally, but it's only out of mercy and compassion. They're not angry on their own. That you've offended me. You've offended my false ego. Not at all. Their anger may only be as a state of let's say, trying to awaken within the other person the importance of surrender, the importance of taking shelter of Krishna, serving Krishna. They're angry that Krishna's parts and parcels are not serving Krishna, but how that anger comes out will vary. In Nityananda's case, in this particular incident at least, it's not always the same. And Lord Nityananda, again, with Ramchandra Khan, he was very angry with him. And it's another. So they reciprocate differently according to the individuals, and to teach various lessons for the conditioned souls. Jagai and Madai's speciality, however, or their good fortune, unlike Ramchandra Khan, who systematically offended Haridas Thakur by his behavior. He tried to totally defame him. That was not there in Jagai and Madai. They had no overt desire or antagonism against devotees. They weren't, Vaishnava aparatas in one sense. So that's the difference between them, but they were very sinful, very sinful. And it does go to show that sinful activity is not such a big thing. Vaishnava apparata is a big thing. That's the biggest thing, Vaishnava apparata. We see that Ramchandra Khan was completely destroyed, Gopal Chakravarti. Of course, eventually he got the mercy too, but he had to really heavily admonish for his offenses to Haridas Thakur. And there are other instances when others personalities offended Haridas Thakur, particularly the Kazi, Harinadi, that Brahmin from Harinadi, and others who committed great offences to Haridas Thakur. Haridas completely forgave them, but the Lord doesn't. He can't tolerate offences to his devotees. Worst thing one can do is to be offensive to devotees. We sometimes are victims of that. We should recognize, feel remorseful that we have this tendency and regret, and then we should try to rectify it, try to reform ourselves, repent, reform, change, pray for, stop offending devotees, getting caught up in Vaishnava parad, because that really is the biggest block in our spiritual lives, thinking negatively or offensively towards other devotees. Even if there are mundane wise, there may appear cause for that, but actually for one who has a little understanding of, there's no excuse whatsoever. At least there's no excuse to try to rectify it, even if we are conditioned in that way. And that's the main thing that has to change. Because that's how Jagai and Madai were more eligible than others to receive this seemingly causeless mercy. They weren't, envious of the Vaishnavas. They were just what they were, sinful to everyone. They just saw everyone as an object of sense gratification. Much easier to become Krishna conscious. One who's envious, Mayavadis and others who were envious of Vaishnavas. Next to impossible for them to receive the mercy of the Lord. It is possible, but they have to recognize and change. We may have a little that tendency ourselves. At least we should recognize it and pray for change. And then by the mercy of Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will release that living entity from their conditioned state. He's Patita Pavana, the deliverer of the most fallen. This is the argument, you could say, from Lord Nityananda's side. My Lord, in this incarnation, in this form, you have not come to kill the living entities. We've come to deliver them. If you kill this Jagai Madai, Lord Chaitanya wanted to kill them. Immediately they offended Nityananda. He wanted to kill them. He said, you've come in this age to deliver them. If we have to kill these two, we have to kill everyone. Because more or less everyone's like them. They may be a bit more extreme. It's like a thief. You may steal €1 billion, or you may steal €1, but you're still a thief. You have to be punished. It's not a question of a billion or one. You're a thief. And that has to change. So more or less everyone's like this. Everyone's sinful. Sinful is not just stealing money or causing some other criminal act. Basically, Brother says, being sinful means anyone who identifies themselves with his body is a sinner. No matter who they are. It's a sin to identify with his body. That's the number one sin. Everything else comes from that. So we have to kill everyone, because everyone identifies with the body, no matter who they are, practically. We have to save them. And if you save them, Lord Nityananda's mentality was, if some another we can save these two, then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone will respect him, because no one expects these two to ever change. From their childhood they've been like this. Never ending, attracted to sinful activities. Most people are brought up like this. In fact, they're indoctrinated. They've already got that nature, but their education is completely, even Prahlad Maharaj was exposed to this. I saw this video a few weeks ago. I think it was in Paris even, I'm not sure. There were some characters there, they were enacting this pastime of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj. And there was these two persons playing the role of teachers. And they were They were so, horrible characters. Trying to force Prahlad Maharaj to, listen to all this mundane philosophy. Become a complete number one demon. Amazing. I hope the devotees show them some mercy sometime. But nature, right from word one, the child is taught, you are the body, you were born, you never existed before. The purpose of life is to enjoy your senses by all means. Try to do it within the law. Otherwise you might suffer a bit. But that's the purpose of life. You are the body. There's nothing after you die, basically. So eat, drink, and be merry. Well, you can. This is the basic education philosophy. Even in religion, of course, it's supposed to be a little bit more, but sometimes it doesn't go much beyond that either. There's some concept of God and an afterlife, but it's very unclear exactly what that is. Some terms are there. You understand the nature of the soul and the eternal sojourn of the soul through various experiences in this material creation. So Jagai and Madai are also in that mentality, you could say, but they're delivered by Lord Nityananda's mercy to show how merciful Lord Chaitanya is. He's willing to deliver anyone who surrenders to Nityananda. Anyone. This is the mercy of our Krishna Consciousness movement is a manifestation of the heart, the loving heart of Nityananda Prabhu, who was sent to Bengal by Lord Chaitanya later on. After this, Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. Lord Nityananda was sent back to Bengal to preach to the, especially the dacoits, the fallen souls therein. Pretty much everyone in the Western world is a follower of Jagai and Madai, pretty much. Drinking, smoking. They didn't smoke. I don't think they did. Maybe they did. I don't know. They certainly drank. They ate meat. And they killed people. And they raped women. And they did all kinds of crazy stuff. Sinful things. Intoxication. Gambling. They were really full on typical examples of a successful person in Kali Yuga. Does all these things. And many times you do these things, you're heralded as a hero by some people. Sinful activity. It's normal. So Lord Nityananda delivered them from what they thought was normality. People don't, they think it's normal. You don't know. But by the mercy of the devotee, they may object, they may throw bricks at us, try to stop us. We'll still carry on, no one can stop Krishna consciousness. They can externally do things, but they can't stop. Because Krishna consciousness movement is not an external movement. It's a movement of Patit Pavan, of Lord Chaitanya's unending mercy on the conditioned souls. And his mercy never stops. It may be blocked by Vaishnava Aparad, but it never stops. Mercy is still there. Just have to take the plug out. He's always merciful. So Sankirtan is the manifestation of that mercy. To give that mercy just like every Ratanandan Prabhu with other devotees and Apurna. Others are going out most days of the week chanting Hare Krishna. This is a manifestation of the unending mercy of Lord Nityananda. The most important thing going on in the world is the Sankirtan movement. Going out on the streets or wherever you are. Tonight they're going on a program somewhere, spreading the holy name. This is what the movement's for. And of course, Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada particularly have taken that further with the distribution of books. This is an even more, you could say, heavier dose of mercy. It directly gives people the association of the pure devotees of the Lord in the form of the books. That which may awaken their desire to change. They get the mercy of hearing the holy name and maybe take some prasadam, which helps to purify them and show maybe some attraction is there. It's good. some good fortune is there. But the desire to change can be evoked when they receive transcendental literature, more so. So combined, these two activities are the very purpose of this Krishna conscious movement, to spread, awaken the chanting of the holy name in others and spread that chanting, and to change their perception, particularly, or the way that they see things through the transcendental literatures, book distribution. Everything is for that purpose. Everything else is to support this movement of Lord Chaitanya, this Yogya Sankirtan prayer. In the temple also, the chanting of the holy name goes on, Shastric reading goes on. This is how we serve the will of Lord Nityananda. The will of Lord Nitya Sutta Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, chanting the holy names and trying to awaken that within others. Patita Bhavan, Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, special form. He hasn't come to kill or vinashya to do svitam. He's come to kill the mentality, Lord. He's come to change the mentality. And that's evoked with compassionate performance of Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So where are we going today? Where are we going to whip today? Where are you going? You got your whips ready?
Place de la République.
Pardon?
Place de la République.
Place de la République today, and next week also. Next week also for the festival when Keshwar Maharaj is here. We're going.
It's also present.
Also, Place de la République. Okay.
I just saw the message for this Saturday.
So is that confirmed today, Place de la République? Revati, are we going to the Place de la République?
Yes.
Great. Is it going to be a nice day? Weather?
Okay.
Yes.
It's going to be no rain. It's not very good in the rain here, no shouts at all. No, as long as there's no rain, it's wonderful.
Little cloudy but no rain.
Huh?
Little cloudy but
Little
no
cloudy with no rain, okay. Confirmed by the absolute truth. Shastric injunction. Any questions?
I have one question. You spoke a lot about the fact that Madai, Jagai Madai are expansion of Jaya and Vijay. My question is there expansion in Jaya and Vijay continues as service in the spiritual world? When
As Jaya and Vijay? As Jaya and Vijay all perform Jagai pastimes in the spiritual world? Is that what you're
you
saying?
understood my question.
Is that the question? I couldn't quite catch it. Is that what you're saying or not?
Something like
What are you
this,
saying?
yeah.
I
I don't know
I'm
if
so tired I can't hear
I
from
don't know if the spiritual world is there or here.
It's both.
So what happening when Jaya
What's
and
happening?
Madai, okay, Jaya and Vijay are here protecting the temple that the thief don't come, and Jaya and Madai in spiritual world they are
Yeah,
happening.
Well, they
The
expand.
expansion,
They expand in various roles. They're not like a conditioned soul. In the material plane, you see one, and then another. But on a higher platform, they're both going on simultaneously, if the Lord wills. Everything's depending on the Lord's will. They expand accordingly, but they don't give up the other one. In the material world, if you become a drunkard, you can't at the same time be a, kind of like a teetotaler, we say in English. You're one or the other. Or you go from one to the other like this. You can't be both at the same time. Your mentality may be a little bit of both at the same time. You can't act like that. But on the spiritual plane, this is the eternal associates of the Lord. They have this capacity, this actual personal expansion. They're personal expansions as the Lord to fulfill his pastimes. They're not like conditioned souls who are they're not detestable like we are. So they expand according to the will of the Lord. But it doesn't mean that they're no longer Jai and Vijay. We hear that sometimes, in the material world you hear that some Aryama takes Yamaraj's post. In the material world it's not in the spiritual realm. It's not like that. Oh, there's nobody there at the gate because Jai and Vijay have gone. Oh, we can all go in now. It's not like that. No, they expand. So from the material perspective, it's hard for people to grasp. So there appears, from the point of view of preaching, that they fell down into the material world and became demons. And it's a long story and so on. Yes, they could say that, but that's an expansion. It's not exactly the same thing as a Tatastha Shakti Jiva choosing to come into the material world. So it goes on simultaneously, and the pastimes of the Lord in this material universe are going on, and Prabhupada explained, is just like the wheel of time. You may not see it in this universe, but these pastimes are going on somewhere in some universe. And in the spiritual realm, yes, in Navadvip Dham, on the spiritual plane, they may perform these pastimes, like children playing out pastimes. Wow. There's Jagai and Madai, let's have some fun, it's like, or whatever they think. For the arrangement of Yoga Maya, sometimes we look for the idea that there's demons coming or something like that take place. Yoga Maya arranges some apparent demons, and Krishna kills them and they all have great fun. But there's no real demon there. It just appears. It's like on the stage, it's not really a demon, but it appears like a demon. And it's all for entertainment. So in this material world, they're what we call they're real. They appear real. They're not, in one sense, real either, but they appear to us as real. It's a real demon. And Krishna is killing a real demon. And then he's gone. And then there's another pastime cycle, but that's going on somewhere else, unseen to us. So it's going on simultaneously. They can expand, of course, in every incarnation. Appear there. And it's not like they're not the other one, they're an expansion of the particular person. That's the way it says in the spiritual world, so and so is, gopi or whatever it is. When they appear with Lord Chaitanya, it's not that they're not the gopi anymore. Okay, girls, I won't be around for a while. I'm going to Navadvip to become, Abhiram, Das Abhiram, or whatever it is. Abhiram Thakur. Ram Das Abhiram. No, not like that. It'll just, all these realms return existing to. We can't possibly see. It's one of the primary, Jiva Goswami explains, one of the primary ways, or one of the primary factors in order to become Krishna conscious is to accept the inconceivability of the Supreme Lord. He's not, I thought Sri Krishna Namadi, he's not conceivable with material sense. He's only conceivable when he reveals himself. You can't logically understand, because you can only give some sort of related examples sometimes from material experience, but it doesn't fully capture the inconceivable nature of Godhead. He can do anything he likes, way beyond their imagination, in fact. Not just, that's just imagination. He can do beyond their imagination. People think this is obviously mythology, but how can anyone expand themselves, 16,108 times and marry 16,108 wives at the same time, more or less? This is ridiculous, isn't it? People say, they can't believe it. It's impossible. This is obviously mythology. Then they have no understanding of Godhead. What is the difficulty for him? do anything. Creating countless universes, what's the difficulty? You can do anything like so. Acceptance of the inconceivable nature. In other words, we can't conceive of it. When Prabhupada was talking one time with, I think it was with Janananda Maharaj, I'm not sure who it was, but someone, and asked Prabhupada, how do we explain things like in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, or 11th, I don't know, somewhere or another. It describes how Ugrasena has like 33 trillion bodyguards. You know what a bodyguard is? Like a servant, you know, when it protects you. 33 trillion, and that's like a crazy figure. You can hardly imagine what that is. Or how many soldiers were in the army of Ram. If you read it in the Ramayana, it's an inconceivable number. Like it's almost like how many atoms are in the universe or something. It's an inconceivable number. Krishna is inconceivable. Can't be measured. Anything you can measure, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj said, is Maya. Spirit cannot be measured. Only that manifestation of Krishna's energy, which we call the material energy, can be measured. And even that is almost immeasurable. We try to measure it, time, space, volume, and so on. We try to measure things, but actually spirit is immeasurable. Only indications are given. Because we're conditioned souls, so indications are given to try to help us understand the higher nature of spirit. So, but actually it's inconceivable to material senses. Only when the Lord reveals it. So these things will be, to a large degree, a little bit inconceivable to us. But we accept that. But God has us. That's the definition, practically, of that definition of God. He's inconceivable. He's a chincha. Cannot be conceived. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. The mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. And Srila Prabhupada is there. It's like inconceivable that we're somehow or other around and we're here considering the situation of the world. Quite incredible.
His Holiness Janananda Goswami Maharaj ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the wonderful assembled Vaishnavas ki jai.